Hey guys, what's up? Pito here with a new video. This one, I'm going to be teaching you the basic fundamentals of building your deck. Before I start, I apologize. No face cam today. I don't have it with me, so you're going to have to just look at the background. So yeah, deck building. Let's say you're stuck in gold, stuck in silver, stuck in wherever, and you're thinking, I have a deck. It has some good minions and some boss minions. Got some legendaries, but I'm just not winning. Is it me? Is it my deck? I think it's my deck. Well, it might be your deck. And that's because the fundamentals of card games rely on two features. And I might go into these more in depth in future videos, but the two most important parts of card games are going to be tempo and card advantage. Card advantage is the idea of having more cards than your opponent. So if your opponent has 3 minions and 4 cards in hand, and you have 2 minions but 9 cards in hand, you have card advantage. Tempo, on the other hand, is the idea of using all your mana every turn to put consistent threats on the field and threaten your opponent, or remove their minions to inhibit their ability to get to the end game. A good thing of keeping up with tempo is to every turn blow all of your mana. So if it's 8 mana, instead of dropping a 7 minion legendary, drop 2 4 manas. Because you're going to eat up all 8 of your mana, and it's going to just turn out to be a better tempo play for yourself. There's a couple tricks that you should do anytime you start building a new deck, and I'm here to show you. So today, I'm on my free-to-play, white-only deck. I'm running it all the way to Masters. Check out that series. First episode's already up. Second episode should be out soon. And we just hit gold. So looking forward to the next episode. It should be out by the end of the weekend. Let's go ahead and get into this. So we're going to come in here. I'm going to make a new deck. It's going to be white. These rules apply to any deck. So we're going to create a new deck. So the first thing you're going to build when building a deck is you need to know the theme. If you're building around one card or like one type, you're going to want to put in what's called a core. A lot of the information I'm going to give you, if you know a lot about card games, you'll already understand it. So, I apologize, but if you don't know a lot about card games, I'm going to explain this real basic. Core, or a core of a deck, is the base cards that you need to fill a type of deck. So for this example, I'm going to build Android. It's the deck that I'm currently working towards in my free to play. So the core for Android is 3 of this girl, and best Android card, and one of the best cards in white. So the core for her is going to be the 3 of that. So I'm just going to build the core for this deck real quick. And then where's my 5 cost minion? There he is. All right. So this is the basic core for Android. These are the cards that you will use, and truthfully, I like this card at 3, just because I like to see it. This is the basic core. So this is a core. It is the basic cards of this type that you are going to use. The core for Android is 3 of your base minion, 3 of the 2-drop Android, draw Android, 3 of the I'm swinging for game and you can't do anything about it Android, and 2 of your drawing even more Android. So this is your core. Filled up 14 spots, but we need to fill up more. So the other trick, and I cannot stress this about, every single deck needs to have 6 1-drop minions. At least at the game can evolve, and unless you're playing like very specific combo decks, you want 6 1-drop minions. Ideally, if you can get away with them being colorless, like this one, where it has no required colored mana, that's even better. At least half of your 6-drops need to be this. The 6-drop minions I like to use for this deck, we'll get into. And the other one is you want to look at your base minions. Base minions should be special. Prior to, I would say, BS kind of coming out, you wanted like, a good 6 to 10 base minions. I didn't really play before that, so I'm not sure, but just looking at like old betas, it seemed like that normal, but now you can actually have less. And that's based off of the third thing you need in your deck, and that is some form of draw slash thinning agent. On top of your core and on top of your boss minion, you really want to have your base minions, your 6/1 drops, and some kind of drawing slash thinning agent. And that'll fill out most decks. So we got our core here for Android. So we're gonna pick our base minion. We have the 3 base minions here. So, but we need more. So she's an invoker. An invoker is a very powerful archetype. There's a lot of synergy around them. So I think we want to build off of invoker. So we have this girl right here. This guy, while not the greatest, his level 3 form is good. And he's a great tempo card because he's a 3 mana, 500 attack, and can get higher. As I'll show you, he's actually quite easy to upgrade with our choice of 1-drop minions. So we're going to pick this guy, and we're going to have 3 of her. Because this is kind of an older traditional deck, I want to have a couple more base minions, so I always open up with something. So I really like to run 1 of this guy, maybe 2. I wouldn't play 3. This removal spell can be very useful, as well as just him being an invoker can set off Audrey a lot easier. You don't know how many times I've dropped Audrey, not drawn, and been like, why am I? Oh, I'm an idiot. Another choice of invoker is Jin, if you like her. I'm not a big fan. My deck's not a minion deck. This is a lot better if you're planning on playing more of a mid-range deck that's dropping, multiple threats every turn. A bunch of smaller threats. This card's going to be really good for that. Just giving them all, attack boost and resurge. She's really good for that. But because I'm actually wanting to play more of a control style, I'm going to stick with Andrew. So I'm going to throw into Andrew, and this is where you can choose. You can stay here, or you can add 1 or 2 more. And this is where you have different choices. I like to have him, and so I normally want like maybe 1 more. So I might throw in, a Chronora, or I don't know her name. I don't know how to pronounce it. Just to have her. The boost ability is good. It gives you a +1. You'll be able to win a couple games off of that. And it makes it so if they try to chump block you, you can keep going. So if you're afraid, oh, hey, they're not going to commit their big monster to block and they want to chump block with a small guy, well, I mean, this card can directly just counter that. So I like to have her in the deck. I just really started testing her, so I'm not sure. So after we have our choice of base minions, I'm going to move on to my 1-drops. Now, because I have her, I really want to have a couple hunters in the deck. Graciously, he's a 1-drop and he doesn't require any mana. So if you don't open up any base minions, you can just play him off of a neutral mana and then move him back to your base, and then bam, you got some white mana. So and the other one is he's a BS and a hunter, and BS is a very strong archetype of this game. On top of him being able to, on your opponent's turn, buff your minions, it's going to mean that you'll be able to make very efficient trades. Your 200 attack minion or their 200 attack minion will have to swing into your 300 attack minion, even though they're the same card. So this card can be very powerful in certain situations. So like I said, we want 6, and the other powerful part is no colored mana. 3 Electroneedler. Another good choice if you're playing like BS, this card's really good. He's an excellent chump blocker. Your opponent swings in, they can't use a destruction spell to get rid of him. He's basically guaranteed. The only downside is he does require a 1 mana. So if you wanted to add somebody like him or Snowmouse to your deck, you can't run both, because if you open up no base mana and you open up him, you're not going to be able to play him. So that's why 3 of your 6 1-drops need to have no mana. Now, these are general rules. You don't need to apply these to different to combo decks. Combo decks are complete different. Beast, the whole point of those decks is to just get a combo off. So a lot of times it's going to be a lot of draw cards, rank cards to get to their combo real quick. So this does not apply to combo decks. This applies to mid-range, control, and really aggro decks as well. So after we got this, let's look at the deck. So we got our base minions in, and we got our other minions here. Our core in, and we got our base minions, and we got our 1-drops. So at this point, what we're going to do is we can add maybe a couple boss monsters. Say we got a really strong white minion, and we're just like, hey, I want to throw this guy on the field, and I want to make sure he can't do anything. So a good example of that, especially in the Android deck, is Hex. He's a field clear. You're going to be restoring a lot of your life force. He's 1,000 attack with 300. He's a great card. So he would be a really good card, really good what's called a finisher. A finisher is a type of card that you just use to, will finish your opponent. Now he is big, and you're going to play him super late, so we can afford to use just two of them. It's expensive cards. You're not going to really have a bunch of them in your hand. You're not really going to get to play them a lot. So that's going to be our big threat guy, and maybe we want to throw in like one more like really threatening card that really kind of messes with our opponent. And a good example of that in white would be, Water Carrier Deity Aqua Ellison or whatever. He's a great card. I really like him because he's can't be selected or targeted by card effects on your opponent's turn or on your turn. Sorry. So I like to just summon him and swing at a force. It's just like it's free damage, especially when you got like her up. That's just gonna give him Resurge. It's a great card, and it makes it so that like 5 or less can't interact with state, so your opponent can't spam the field with small minions, and he's a cost reduction. So this would be another good card to throw in at like 2. And then finally, you're going to want to add what are called staples. Staples are an idea of a staple is a card that kind of puts the deck together. They're interchangeable cards that can be in a lot of decks. So a staple in white would be something like, I'm going to look for like the best staple, X Cannon. You're going to play it in almost every single white deck. It's very good, and so you just like no reason not to throw all 3 of them in. So I'm going to add my staples. I want my removal spell. If you like, and then I really like playing both automated assembly and Audrey because there's a lot of times, especially with white, you're not going to open up well. So you want that draw power. You want to be able to draw into card you need at 3 mana. It's really 5 mana, but we play the good force that lowers its cost. It's worth playing this card if you're playing that. So if you got this force in, just throw that one in. You play obliteration, beam. I'm going to choose not to right now. So I'm going to throw in 3 maintenance. This is an absolute staple necessary for this kind of deck. Card I really like, and again, could be a staple, something like Silent Wall. They play Golem Summoning on 4. You can just drop this card at 2 mana to stop them from doing it. And then we're going to add our colorless staples. So this is going to be going back into your draw engine. So I want to go over to 3 mana. So you can throw in, something like this guy. He's a good staple. He's really strong in the deck. He's going to give you mana ramp. So this is a colorless staple. So maybe we throw in like 2 of those. We're already at 40, but that's fine. You can go over 40 and then we make the cuts. And then another good staple I really like to run in this deck are Rita. You don't have to play this card, but in this deck I really like it, especially with there already being 5 field wipes. You don't need it, but the reason why I like it is because of this swoop. The swoop of this card is just absolutely ridiculous. So we're at 44 cards. We need to make a cut. We're going to look at the deck. We need to figure out where are we going to make some cuts. You've added in all the cards you like, and now you decide, okay, I need to make some cuts somewhere. So we're going to look at, cards that do the same thing, cards that are, maybe you don't need as many of them. So I'm looking at this guy, right? Do I really need 3 of them? I got a lot of draw power, which means I'll more than likely see him in a match. If I wasn't playing, 3 maintenance, 3 Audreys, 3 automated assemblies, and 2 of the second Audrey, I might play him at 3, but don't need it, so we're going to drop it at 2. And then I'm not actually playing a lot of cards that gain benefit off of cores. So I'm going to actually drop Alex, even though, he is a good card and a lot of white decks are playing him. I'm going to drop him. And then the last card we're looking at, we need to drop 1 card somewhere. So I'll come back here and I'll be like, well, maybe I don't need this base. Maybe I don't need him. So I'll drop him. And then boom, you have a deck. Now I'm going to show you another option. There's multiple draw engines you can do, or thinning engines you can do, and maybe you want to be a little bit more consistent. So you can actually come into here. I'm going to go turn on all cards. You can drop this guy, and then you can come in here and you can be like, well, this guy's all right, and this guy's all right, but I don't really need this guy, so I'm going to drop him. Maybe you want Buggy over the other guy. It's up to you. And you're like, okay, well, now what do I do? So an alternative base minion engine would be to go in here and grab something like Map Rat. So we're going to add Map Rat. He's going to be our one drop. He's going to be colorless. And he's going to search a nymph. And so you come in here, you look at your nymphs, and I actually just took one out, but you don't have to. You can add like 2 of this guy. You can be like, oh, maybe I want 2 of those, or like 1 and 1. And then you're 1 over, and then now you got a lot of draw power, so you can actually like drop one of these if you wanted to. And so now you have the option of opening on 1 mana. If you don't open any base minions, or don't open up like a good 1 mana card, you can summon Map Rat and search like one of these 2, and boom, you got like a very consistent way of searching your minions. And so yeah, that's the basic gist of this deck. So we're going to take those logic I just gave you for creating decks, and we're going to apply it to a new deck, and it's going to be a very meta deck, and it's going to show you an example of how these meta decks become the way they are. Also, I'm going to show you another way of handling base minions that really have only came out with BS. We're going to open up with the core of BS White. So 3 of that. And then you're going to want to play one of these. But that's not really part of the core, but hey, whatever. That's part of the core of BS White. Sorry, go back. It was the 1-drop BS White minion. That's the core. Both of these are part of the core. I'm not sure where they're all located, so please forgive me. Okay, so here's your core. We have our BS White core. Next, we're gonna add in our 1-drop minions. Already done. Already got our 6 1-drops. So now we're gonna move on to draw and thinning power. Now, this deck can get away with playing only a couple field minions. So because of that, there is a very special card that a lot of decks can play, but I think this deck plays it the best, and that's Pollen. Because you have no mana, there's a high chance you don't open up with one of your base minions. So we're going to play 3 Pollens, just in case we don't open up with one. We can easily just, boom, summon Pollen, draw a card. Early draw card. Great. All right, and then another good card that a lot of like BS White decks play, since it is a BS card, a lot of people like to play the 1-drop Bread, because it can clear a monster, and it can clear the tokens. So a lot of people like to play that card. Some people like to play this one because the ability to draw a card. But we're not going to, because we're literally just going to use our logic to apply. And then a lot of people like to play where is it, the 6-drop one. It's epic 6-drop. It might be a rare. Yeah, this guy. A lot of people like to play one of him because he can search these 2, and he's a BS card, and he's dragon. So a lot of people like to play him. Other than that, we're gonna add our other draw cards, our other really good ones. So that's going to be part of our draw engine. This is going to be part of our draw engine. And then now that we have our draw engine in, we have our 1-drop minions in, we have our base minions in, and we have our core in. We want to start adding in staples, or add our big threats. So a lot of like white decks like to run white BS decks like to run this guy. It's not a 4-drop. So like say I wanted a good finisher, I'm struggling with finishing, I can add like a couple of those and finish, just help finish off the game. So now we're going to add in staples. So staples for the deck are going to be like, they're going to be mostly spells with this deck. So you can play like reactive shield if you think so. We're going to throw in a couple of these because it's a good staple. A couple obliteration beams, a couple maintenances. We're going to go over 40 and we're going to thin it down. Don't worry. So boom, we have 45. We need to thin 5 cards. So we're going to look at, initially, what is, we don't really need. Well, we don't have a lot of draw power in this deck, so we want to keep Lolo at 3. And this card, since you're already kind of locking your opponent out, you don't really need it in this version, especially with this finisher. So if you're going for finishers instead of trying to control your opponent, you don't really need him. You don't really need this guy. So if you're wanting to be more controlling, drop that guy. If you're wanting to be more aggro and finish off, drop this guy. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to drop him. And then since I am trying to be a little bit more aggroing and less controlling, I'm going to drop one of my obliteration beams. Now we're down to 2. So we're going to again look at it. Look at what we got. We got 1, 3, 1, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. So here's an idea again. I kind of want to keep these because, they're really our only source of draw entry, but we don't have a lot of like white-based minions. So she's not going to come up a lot. So she's going to be mostly good for this resurge effect. So because of that, I'm actually going to drop one because I'm not really looking to draw cards off. And then the last one, we need to cut 1 card. So maybe I'll come in here and I'll cut this like Apollo Dragon because he's good, but like, there's better. And then boom, here is your deck. You have your core, you have your base minions, you have your 1-drops, you have your 1-drop that doesn't cost anything but is the same color, and you have your threats. So next time you're building your deck, remember the fundamentals of deck building. Your deck core, 6 1-drop minions with 3 of them at least not requiring any colored mana, your draw engine, your finishers or a win con, and the staples. If you have any more questions or have input, put it in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out my Twitch. We're going to be streaming Zenozard on Mondays and we stream Apex on Fridays. Come by twitch.tv/itsmep2. It's going to be a good time. I hope you enjoyed the video.